every boardroom is buzzing right now. I mean, you really can't escape it, can you?
No, you can't. We are absolutely in the thick of it. The AI conversation is everywhere.
And whenever something gets this big, this fast, opinions just, they seem to polarize almost instantly.
That's right. You get these two extremes, don't you? Some people are seeing AI as, pure magic, like it's going to solve every single problem overnight.
The silver bullet.
Exactly. And then on the other side, you've got folks who see it as this imminent threat, almost existential.
And it's that huge swing, isn't it, between like panic and miracle cure. That's where things get messy.
That's precisely it. That polarization, that wild swing, that's the heart of what we call the hype trap.
Right.
And business leaders, well, they need to navigate this very, very carefully. It's tricky.
So for you, the listener, you're probably right in the middle of this, grappling with what feels like the biggest question for organizations right now.
Which is, how do we actually move these AI discussions away from just buzzwords?
Yeah.
Away from the hype you hear at conferences.
And towards something tangible, something that delivers measurable business value.
And crucially, something that's implemented responsibly, sustainably. That's the key.
Okay, so that really sets up our mission for today. Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive.
Glad to be diving in.
Our analysis today is really built on some foundational insights, particularly drawing from Zahir Ahmad Mir's work.
Yes, his perspective is really focused on that practical shift, isn't it? Moving from just talking about AI hype to actually achieving AI mastery.
Mastery through what, though? What's the mechanism?
Through robust business governance. That's the core idea, finding that, let's say, strategic middle ground. You need innovation, of course, but you can't let it run wild without structure. You also can't afford inertia.
So finding the balance.
Exactly, balance.
So our goal here in this deep dive is to really extract those core governing principles.
And the strategic steps you need to take. Plus, the ethical foresight that's becoming absolutely essential.
All aimed at sustainable AI deployment. We want to help you ensure you're not just, getting caught up in the noise.
Making sure you don't get trapped by the hype. Spending capital, spending time wisely.
So it's about moving away from just reacting to whatever the market's shouting about this week.
And towards controlled, strategic execution. Building something lasting.
Okay, so if we map out the journey we're discussing today, what's the fundamental shift? What's the one core idea every leader needs to internalize right now?
I think it boils down to moving from being a passive receiver of hype.
Just soaking it all in.
Yeah, just absorbing it. To becoming an active creator of structure.
Structure.
It means shifting from reacting, asking which AI tool should we buy now, to proactively building governance frameworks.
Defining your own strategy first.
Yes, defining strategy and establishing real, enduring value within your specific organization.
So it's not just about adopting AI.
No, it's about institutionalizing AI competence.
Yeah.
Making it part of the organizational DNA, but in a controlled, governed way.
All right, let's start right at the beginning of that journey then, which means, first, avoiding that hype trap.
The big pitfall.
Because I'm willing to bet everyone listening has seen that PowerPoint slide at some point. You know the one. With the sort of generic, glowing blue brain graphic labeled AI future state.
Oh, absolutely. That slide is practically the visual definition of the hype trap.
So what are the really clear, actionable signs that tell you an organization is stuck there when they're treating the technology more like the goal itself rather than, a means to an end?
Well, the first sign, and honestly probably the most damaging one, is operational.
Okay.
It's this tendency to massively overpromise what the AI can do.
Setting huge expectations.
Exactly, huge expectations, while in reality significantly under-delivering on the actual results.
Right.
Hype just creates this atmosphere where everyone expects immediate, revolutionary change across the whole business. Everything's going to be different tomorrow.
And then
you look under the hood 6 months, maybe a year later, what do you find?
Usually not the revolution you were promised.
Usually not. Maybe the AI is managing one small, minor function. Or sometimes, even worse, it's being held together with, digital duct tape and constant manual overrides because those initial promises were just completely unrealistic.
And the cost of that kind of overpromising, it's not just wasted time or money, is it? It's deeper than that.
Oh, much deeper. You lose organizational faith. Massively.
How so?
Well, think about it. If the first 2 or 3 really high-profile AI projects crash and burn or just fizzle out,
then everyone gets cynical.
Exactly. The whole company becomes cynical about any future AI initiatives, even if the next one is actually well-planned and viable. That cynicism is a huge opportunity cost. It's really hard to recover from that internal skepticism once it sets in.
Okay, so that's the first failure. Over-promising, under-delivering. What's the second core failure tied to this hype?
This one is directly linked, and it's about a critical mistake in how capital is invested. Money. We're talking about organizations pouring substantial amounts of capital into AI initiatives without establishing clear, measurable return on investment metrics beforehand. No ROI target.
Why does that happen so often with AI? Do the traditional ROI models just not seem to fit, or is it something else?
I think it's a mix of things. Part of it is the hype itself, convincing leaders that AI is just so revolutionary, so different.
But the old rules don't apply?
Precisely. That the usual financial diligence isn't necessary because the benefit will be so enormous, it will just sort of appear magically.
Wishful thinking.
Highly wishful thinking. But the reality is, if you can't articulate what success actually looks like.
And not just, we implemented the tech.
No, absolutely not. Just speed of implementation. Success has to be defined in terms of real business outcomes, financial savings, gains in operational efficiency, measurable risk mitigation.
If you can't define that up front,
then you're essentially treating AI like a lottery ticket, a speculative gamble, not a strategic business asset.
Right.
The hype trap tricks people into thinking it's better to be fast, even if it means being wrong. Speed over accuracy.
So the big realization leaders need to come to. It sounds almost deceptively simple, doesn't it?
It does. But it's incredibly hard to execute in practice, especially when everyone around you is caught up in the frenzy.
And that realization is?
AI is not magic. Simple as that.
Not a silver bullet.
Not a silver bullet. It is simply a tool designed for specific business applications.
So it solves a discrete problem.
Yes, a specific identifiable problem. It doesn't magically solve all your deep-seated organizational inertia or your company-wide inefficiency problems just by installing it.
That feels like a crucial mindset shift.
It absolutely dictates the required shift. We have to move past viewing AI as, a shiny new toy or something to just generate good PR.
Look how innovative we are.
Right. We need to embrace it purely as a functional tool, period.
So the whole discussion needs to change internally.
Fundamentally, it has to move past the wow factor, the impressive demo of a generative model writing a poem or something.
Which is cool, but maybe not core business.
Exactly. The focus has to be squarely, relentlessly, on improving existing workflows, improving core business processes, the ones that are currently inefficient or costing too much, or maybe are just really prone to human error.
Okay, that makes perfect sense in a strategy meeting. But how does a leader actually translate that mindset into practical implementation? On the ground.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Because the pull, the sort of gravitational force, it often seems to be towards that massive enterprise-wide rollout, the Big Bang approach.
The giant single-vendor contract that promises to transform all 15 divisions simultaneously.
Yes, that one. How do you resist that?
Leaders absolutely must resist that urge. That's the hype trap screaming for immediate but ultimately superficial gratification.
So what's the alternative? The strategic approach.
The strategic approach, and crucially, the one that minimizes the organizational blast radius if things do go wrong.
Because things can go wrong.
Oh, they absolutely can, especially early on. The smart approach is to start focused, really focused.
Yes, focused.
Find one discrete workflow, something that's currently causing friction. Maybe it's high cost, but ideally, it's relatively low risk in terms of catastrophic failure.
Okay.
And you implement AI there first, in just one department, or maybe even just one specific business function within that department.
So give me an example. Instead of trying to automate the entire customer service division.
Right. Don't boil the ocean. Maybe you target just one specific part of it.
Right.
Like maybe automatically classifying incoming support tickets. Just that. Speeding up the routing to the right team.
Okay, that's definable.
Or perhaps automating the initial processing of vendor invoices within the finance department. You pick one clear, measurable pain point, and you tackle just that one first.
And what are you proving when you do that?
You're proving two critical things at the same time in this, let's call it, pilot phase.
Okay, first.
First, obviously, that the technology actually works in your specific context and delivers measured value against those metrics you defined beforehand.
Yeah.
Your ROI. Second, and this is equally important for any future scaling, you're proving whether your organizational data is actually mature enough, clean enough, to support the AI model properly.
Ah, the data aspect. Often overlooked in the hype.
Massively overlooked. AI systems are data hungry. They starve without clean, well-governed data.
So a small, focused pilot acts like a canary in the coal mine for your data.
Precisely. It exposes your data deficiencies, your governance gaps, in one contained area first. That allows you to fix them there, learn the lessons, before you attempt something massive and risk a huge enterprise-wide failure due to bad data.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Control the variables, manage the risk.
Exactly. So once that focused application is proven,
Right.
once you've measured its effectiveness against clear metrics, and this is the crucial step we'll get into once it is correctly governed,
Governed.
then and only then can you responsibly think about scaling that system across the wider organization.
It sounds like a very deliberate process.
It has to be. This controlled, data-driven scaling approach is the absolute key to minimizing risk and maximizing real value. It stands in stark contrast to that impulsive, market-driven expansion that the hype trap encourages.
So it changes the whole nature of the project.
But it really does. It transforms the implementation from feeling like just another technology project
Into what?
into a managed risk expansion project. You're scaling something known, something governed, not just throwing new tech at the wall and hoping it sticks.
Okay, that concept of controlled scaling and the mention of governance being key before you scale, that immediately brings up the next big question, doesn't it?
Who's minding the store, essentially?
Yeah, right. Who is monitoring the controls? Because we all know initial enthusiasm can fade pretty quickly. Project champions move on.
But governance frameworks, if they're built properly, they endure.
Which brings us squarely into Section 2, establishing governance. Now, there's often a pushback here, isn't there? Isn't robust governance just bureaucracy? Doesn't it just slow down innovation, especially in a fast-moving market like AI?
That's a really vital tension, and leaders grapple with it all the time. There's definitely a fear that governance equals slow, old-school regulatory hurdles, red tape.
Killing the speed advantage AI promises.
That's the fear. But in the AI context, governance needs to be reframed. It's not just about applying brakes. It's the essential infrastructure that actually makes innovation sustainable over the long run.
Sustainable, explain that. Why isn't enthusiasm enough?
Because enthusiasm is fleeting. Relying on the initial zeal of the AI team or the passion of one particular executive sponsor, that's fundamentally unstable. People leave companies, market priorities shift, budgets get reallocated, the original intent gets lost without structure.
So governance provides the continuity, the
Yeah.
institutional memory.
Exactly, and more than that. Governance ensures three fundamental things. First, that your AI solutions are actually compliant with laws and regulations, which are evolving rapidly.
Okay, compliance.
Second, that they are responsible in their outputs and behavior. They don't inadvertently cause harm or unfairness.
Responsibility.
And third, that they are integrated correctly and safely into your existing organizational structure and technical systems.
Integration, okay.
Putting those three together, compliance, responsibility, integration, that's what takes AI from being just a fleeting, perhaps risky experimental project
To becoming what?
to becoming a true, sustainable, auditable business asset. It changes the internal conversation entirely from, why isn't this tech cool,
Yeah.
to how does this technology uphold our legal standing, maintain customer trust, and add predictable, reliable value 5, 10 years from now.
That's a very different conversation.
It's the conversation mature organizations need to have.
Okay, so to achieve that kind of sustainability, that longevity, our sources highlight 3 absolutely essential governance principles. Things every leader needs to not just passively adopt, but actively enforce.
Yes, these are the pillars.
Let's break them down. Pillar number 1, transparency and AI use. What does that mean in practice? How much openness are we really talking about here? Do you have to publish your source code?
No, it's generally not about revealing proprietary algorithms or the secret sauce. Transparency is more fundamental. It's the bedrock for building trust, both internally with your employees and externally with your customers and regulators.
So what does it require?
It requires organizations to be open and clear about where and how AI is being deployed within their operations.
Especially where it touches people directly.
Absolutely critical there.
Hmm.
Especially if those AI systems are involved in decisions affecting customers, think automated loan applications, insurance pricing, maybe even content recommendations.
Or employees.
Or employees, yes. Things like automated performance scoring, resume screening, shift scheduling, anywhere an algorithm is making or influencing a decision about a person.
So what does being open mean in those cases?
It means, at minimum, disclosing to the user, the customer, the employee, that an automated system, an algorithm, was involved in making a decision, or at least part of that decision.
So let's take an example. If a customer applies for a loan online and gets denied by the system,
Transparency, under a good governance framework, would mandate not just telling them denied.
but what?
It would require explaining that an automated model was used in the assessment, maybe highlighting the key factors the model considered, without revealing the whole algorithm, and crucially, providing a clear pathway for human review or appeal.
Ah, the human in the loop or appeal mechanism.
Exactly. Without that transparency and recourse, you just erode trust completely. People feel powerless against a black box, and frankly, you open yourself up to significant legal and reputational liability.
So operating a black box that impacts people's lives or finances, that's just becoming untenable.
Increasingly so.
Mm.
It's not just a nice-to-have ethical choice anymore. It's rapidly becoming a baseline regulatory expectation in many parts of the world. Transparency is moving from ethics to compliance.
Okay, that leads quite naturally into the second pillar, doesn't it? Principle 2, data privacy and compliance.
Absolutely linked.
We know privacy regulations are getting tougher everywhere. GDPR in Europe, CCPA in California, and others popping up constantly. How does bringing AI into the mix fundamentally raise the stakes around handling data?
It raises the stakes exponentially because AI models are, at their core, data-hungry beasts.
They need fuel.
Lots of fuel. They require massive amounts of information to be trained effectively, to run in production, and to be optimized over time.
So the sheer volume of data being processed increases.
Dramatically, which means the organization's adherence to all those existing and the new emerging data privacy regulations becomes vastly more complex and critical.
It's not just about protecting the data the AI uses day to day, then.
No, that's a crucial distinction. It goes deeper. It's also about ensuring the training data, the historical data you used to build the model in the first place, was sourced legally, ethically, and handled in a compliant way throughout its life cycle.
Wow, okay, so you could build a technically brilliant AI model.
But if you trained it on data that you obtained or used improperly years ago, perhaps without the right consents.
Then the model itself is fundamentally tainted, illegitimate.
Precisely. You risk building an illegal or non-compliant model from the get-go, even if its predictions seem accurate. The provenance of the training data is paramount.
So governance here means really strict controls over the entire data pipeline, from sourcing to training to deployment.
Yes. Governance ensures your AI models are built and run within clear, documented legal boundaries. It's about safeguarding sensitive information, respecting user rights, and preventing potentially massive compliance fines, and, just as importantly, huge reputational damage.
It sounds like the ethical and legal handling of data. That's the absolute foundation.
It is the foundation upon which all responsible AI has to be built. If you try to skip the governance steps here, if you cut corners on data privacy and compliance, you're essentially building that high-performance Ferrari on a foundation of quicksand. It might look good for a moment, but it's destined to collapse.
Okay, foundation set. Now for the third pillar, risk management frameworks.
Yes, managing the ongoing risks.
When people hear AI risk, their minds often jump straight to, science fiction scenarios. Terminator, Skynet.
The robots taking over, right? Which, while a fun thought experiment, isn't the immediate practical business risk leaders need to manage today.
So in a real business context, what kinds of risks do these formal governance structures need to address? What are we actually trying to manage?
We need formal, repeatable structures to identify, assess, and then mitigate the risks associated with the daily, often quite subtle, realities of AI deployment.
Things beyond just standard cybersecurity threats.
Oh, yes. Far beyond traditional IT security vulnerabilities, although those are still important. One of the significant and perhaps insidious risks for many AI models already in production is something called model drift.
Okay, we hear that term model drift thrown around a lot, but sometimes it feels a bit abstract. Can you give us a really clear, maybe an analogy for what model drift actually looks like in a business setting?
Sure. Think of it like using a GPS navigation system in your car, but the map data hasn't been updated for 3 years. When the GPS model was first trained or created, it was perfectly accurate based on the roads, traffic patterns, and points of interest that existed 3 years ago.
Got it.
But the real world doesn't stand still, does it? New roads are built, old ones close for construction, businesses open and shut, traffic patterns change with new developments.
Right. The underlying reality shifts.
Exactly. Model drift is when your AI model, like that outdated GPS, starts giving you bad directions. It's still technically working, it hasn't crashed, but its outputs are becoming less accurate, less relevant, maybe even dangerously wrong, because the underlying landscape, The market conditions, customer behaviors, regulatory environment, whatever it was trained on has changed.
So applying that, maybe an AI model trained to predict customer churn based on data from, say, 2020 during the pandemic,
Yes.
that model might start making really inaccurate predictions in 2024 because customer spending habits, economic pressures, competitive offers, they've all shifted dramatically.
Precisely. The underlying parameters driving customer behavior have drifted. The model itself hasn't necessarily broken in a technical sense, but its predictive power, its relevance to the current reality, has decayed. Sometimes gradually, sometimes quite quickly.
And the risk there is making bad business decisions based on faulty predictions.
Exactly. You might misallocate marketing spend or fail to retain valuable customers or approve loans that are much riskier now than the model suggests.
So governance in this context means what? How do you manage drift?
Governance mandates putting formal structures in place. Think of them like scheduled maintenance checks for your car, but for your AI.
Okay.
These structures are designed to proactively identify, assess, and then mitigate model drift before it causes significant harm.
What do those checks involve?
It means things like scheduled monitoring of the model's performance against real-world outcomes, periodic retraining of the model using fresh, updated data, rigorous auditing to compare model outputs against current business objectives, and having clear thresholds that trigger an alert when performance degrades.
So you catch the drift early.
You catch it early. It ensures the AI tool continues to perform as intended and remains aligned with what the business actually needs today, not what it needed 3 years ago. It helps prevent those unintended operational hiccups or financial consequences before they become major problems or legal liabilities.
So governance isn't just about setting rules at the start, it's about ongoing vigilance.
Absolutely. It's proactive maintenance and monitoring, not just reactive cleanup after something goes wrong. That's sustainability.
Okay, this connection between governance, transparency, privacy, risk management, and actual measurable business value is crucial. Let's make it really concrete. Our sources mention a great professional application example, the story of Nadia. She's a CEO who apparently navigated this whole journey successfully.
Yes, Nadia's story is almost a perfect case study. It really illustrates the shift from being overwhelmed by the buzzwords to achieving structured, valuable execution.
Where did she start? Was she initially caught in the hype trap?
Oh, yes. The story goes, she started out feeling swamped by all the conference hype, hearing these sweeping claims that AI would just magically solve everything in her company.
Familiar feeling for many, I imagine.
Very. But crucially, instead of reacting by launching some huge, unfocused, enterprise-wide AI project.
Which the hype would push her towards.
Exactly. She resisted that and applied the focus strategy we talked about earlier. Start small, prove value, govern it.
And where did she choose to focus? Which department?
She chose a really interesting area, actually. High risk, but potentially high reward if done right. Human resources. HR.
HR. Okay, why is HR such a good, albeit maybe challenging test case for this kind of governed AI deployment?
Well, think about it. HR deals with high volumes of data applications, employee records. It involves processes that can be very time-consuming and prone to friction, like screening thousands of CVs.
So high volume, high friction, good targets for automation efficiency.
Yes, but it's also exceptionally high stakes when it comes to fairness, bias, and legal compliance.
Ah, right. If an AI system messes up in hiring.
If it introduces, or worse, amplifies bias in hiring decisions, the legal fallout, the reputational damage, the impact on diversity goals,
Yeah.
it can be immediate and absolutely catastrophic for the company.
So a tough place to start, but maybe the best place to prove you can do it responsibly.
Exactly. By succeeding in HR, Nadia could demonstrate mastery over both the technical and the ethical, governed aspects of AI. So she focused on one specific, high-cost, high-friction workflow within HR.
Which was?
Automating the initial screening process for curriculum vitae, or CVs, resumes.
Okay, describe the before picture. What was the pain point there?
The before picture was likely human screeners spending countless hours, days even, manually sifting through potentially thousands of applications for a single open role.
Leading to bottlenecks in hiring.
Huge bottlenecks. And also, frankly, inconsistency. Even the best human screeners get fatigued. They might apply criteria slightly differently over time, and they inevitably bring their own unconscious biases into the process, however unintentionally.
So the AI was brought in to tackle that initial volume and inconsistency.
Precisely. The machine was tasked with handling that first pass, doing the heavy lifting of filtering based on objective, predefined criteria. This freed up the human HR professionals to focus on higher value activities.
Like?
like conducting interviews, assessing cultural fit, making the final nuanced candidate selections, using their human judgment where it adds most value.
But what was the critical mandate here? Just speed wasn't enough, right? Especially in HR.
Absolutely not. The strategic mandate from Nadia, driven by governance principles, was crystal clear. The AI must perform at least as well as, and ideally better than, humans in terms of fairness, non-bias, and compliance with all relevant regulations. Performance wasn't just about speed, it was primarily about responsibility.
Okay, so they implemented it with that mandate. What were the results, the strategic outcomes? Did she achieve quantifiable value?
Yes, on two key fronts. First, the straightforward business value proposition. The efficiency gain was significant.
How significant?
Nadia's HR team managed to reduce the overall hiring cycle time from job posting to offer acceptance by a massive 60%. 60 Duroville.
60%. That's huge.
It's enormous.
Yeah.
That translates directly into getting talent in the door faster, reducing costs associated with open positions, and represents a very clear, measurable return on the AI investment. Financially, it was justifiable just on that basis.
Okay, efficiency gain. Check. But you said two fronts. What was the second and perhaps more critical result related to governance?
This is where the real mastery comes in, linking back to our governance pillars.
Yeah.
She didn't just deploy the tool, she actively built processes to ensure ongoing compliance with non-bias rules within the automated screening system itself.
How did she do that? How do you measure non-bias in an algorithm?
This is key. She mandated regular independent audits of the AI model's decisions. They didn't just rely on the vendor's claims.
Third-party audits.
Yes, using techniques like synthetic data testing, they deliberately fed the model profiles designed to test for potential biases. They specifically looked for statistical evidence of disparate impact.
Disparate impact. Meaning?
Meaning, did the model disproportionately screen out candidates from certain demographic groups, even if those characteristics weren't explicitly used as criteria? Sometimes bias hides in proxies within the data, like correlating postcode with ethnicity, for example.
Ah, okay, so they were actively hunting for hidden biases.
Actively hunting. If the audits revealed any statistically significant disparate impact, the model was immediately flagged, taken offline if necessary, and recalibrated or retrained.
That demonstrates a serious commitment to fairness.
It shows a direct adherence to the governance principles of transparency in how decisions were audited and fairness non-discrimination. It wasn't just lip service, it was built into the operational process, tying the business tool directly to the ethical and legal framework.
And this focus on governance, on doing it right, not just fast.
Yeah.
How did that change things at the highest level? Did the board care?
That's perhaps the most telling part of the story, according to the source material. Nadia's deliberate, governed approach fundamentally changed how success for AI projects was perceived and measured by her board.
How so? What metric did they shift away from?
They shifted away from measuring AI success primarily by how fast the technology was implemented. That's the classic metric of the hype trap speed of deployment.
And what did they shift towards measuring?
They started measuring success through verifiable governance, key performance indicators, governance KPIs.
Governance KPIs. Give me examples. What would those look like?
So success wasn't just defined by that impressive 50% reduction in hiring cycle time, important as that was. It was also defined by metrics like,
Okay.
what is our current compliance risk score for this HR AI tool? Did the mandatory quarterly bias audits pass successfully with documented results? What is the adherence rate for the scheduled model maintenance and recalibration cycle, ensuring we're managing model drift?
Wow. That's a completely different lens.
It's a fundamental shift in focus. It moves from speed and adoption rate, the hype metrics, to resilience, compliance, risk management, and sustained responsible operation. The quality of the implementation, not just the quantity or speed.
So it sounds like they essentially moved from measuring just the AI technology's performance in isolation
Yes.
to measuring the organization's ability to manage that technology responsibly and effectively over its entire life cycle.
That's a perfect way to put it. That shift is the ultimate proof point. It shows the organization isn't just using AI anymore, it's achieved a level of AI mastery.
Because they understand the long game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They understood implicitly that a fast, flashy, but unregulated AI implementation is just a ticking time bomb of liability waiting to happen. Whereas a measured, carefully governed implementation, even if slightly slower initially, becomes a sustainable, defensible, competitive asset for the future.
That concept of building a sustainable asset managed over time leads us very naturally into our third and final section today.
which broadens the lens a bit.
Yes, it's about the crucial role of leadership in this AI era, the unavoidable ethical dimensions, and even how this connects to broader issues like national competitiveness.
Because once you start talking governance and long-term assets, leadership becomes paramount.
Absolutely. It seems clear the CEO's job and the leadership team's job in general really changes when governed AI starts to become embedded in the organization. It has to be more than just, signing off on a budget request for a new software tool.
Oh, far more. The CEO's role has to evolve significantly. It can't just be passive approval of funding.
What does active involvement look like then?
They must actively set the overarching strategic vision for how AI will be integrated across the entire organization, not just in isolated pockets.
So making it a core strategic priority.
Yes, if AI is going to move beyond being a series of interesting but disconnected pilot projects, one in HR, maybe one in logistics, one in marketing,
If it's going to be truly transformative.
then the mandate, the vision, and critically the resources and organizational structure needed to support it, that has to come directly from the top. It needs CEO-level sponsorship and clear communication to provide the sort of cultural permission for potentially profound operational changes.
That makes sense. If the CEO treats AI purely like, say, an IT department upgrade,
Then it will likely remain marginalized, stuck in the IT silo.
but if the CEO frames it as fundamental to the future operational core of the entire business,
Then it gets a cross-functional attention, the strategic priority, and crucially, the robust governance framework it needs and deserves. The leader sets the tone and the expectation.
okay, so setting the vision is step one for leadership. What comes next? What's another critical leadership task in this AI era?
Following closely on that vision is the absolute necessity of cultivating AI literacy throughout the entire company.
AI literacy, meaning everyone needs to become a data scientist.
No, not at all. It means actively investing in training teams, creating a baseline level of understanding about what AI is, what it does, how it works conceptually, and importantly, what its limitations are.
And this needs to be broad.
From the mailroom to the executive suite, ideally. Everyone needs some level of comfort and understanding appropriate to their role. Why is this comprehension piece so vital for successful deployment? Why bother training everyone?
Well, I imagine if the people who actually have to use the tool day to day, the operational managers, the analysts on the front lines, the customer service reps,
Yes.
if they don't understand how the AI tool works, or they don't trust its outputs, or they don't know its limitations and when not to rely on it,
And what happened?
then even a perfectly engineered, brilliant AI system is going to fail to deliver its intended value. It'll be misused or maybe ignored altogether or constantly second-guessed and treated with suspicion. The human element is key.
It's the engine, really, of successful adoption and value realization.
Yeah.
When leadership just mandates a new AI tool or a process change from on high, without investing in comprehension and buy-in,
You get resistance.
you get friction, you get fear, you get resistance. People might worry, often legitimately, about their jobs being replaced.
God.
Or they might simply refuse to trust a system they perceive as just an inscrutable black box, making decisions they don't understand.
So AI literacy helps overcome that.
It's crucial for mitigating that fear and resistance. It reframes the conversation. It helps people see AI not necessarily as a replacement for them, but as a tool that can augment their skills, take away tedious tasks, and allow them to focus on more complex, interesting, human-centric work.
But they need to know how to work with the tool.
Precisely. They need to understand how to harness that augmentation effectively. This requires practical steps from leadership, like creating internal AI champion networks, integrating AI training into regular professional development, and celebrating successes where humans and AI work together effectively. Build confidence through understanding.
Okay, so leadership sets the vision, builds literacy. Now, let's talk about the broader states involved here, starting with ethics. We saw how Nadia tackled non-bias rules in HR as a core governance requirement. But this needs to be a universal principle, right?
It absolutely has to be embedded across the entire AI strategy, regardless of the application. It's non-negotiable, frankly, because the potential cost of ethical failure is just becoming too high to ignore.
In what ways?
Leaders must consciously embed core ethical principles, fairness, accountability, transparency, non-discrimination, into their AI strategy right from the very beginning. It can't be an afterthought.
So if you're developing, say, a dynamic pricing algorithm for e-commerce,
You need to actively audit it to ensure it isn't disproportionately charging higher prices to people in certain neighborhoods or demographics based on proxy data.
Or a fraud detection model in banking.
You need to ensure it isn't flagging transactions from certain ethnic groups at a significantly higher rate simply because of historical biases present in the training data it learned from.
And if you don't actively look for and correct these issues.
You're not only exposing the organization to potentially huge legal challenges and regulatory fines, but you're also fundamentally destroying customer trust and damaging your brand reputation, perhaps irreparably.
Which ties back to the idea of trust as a competitive asset.
Absolutely. In the digital age, trust is paramount. Governing AI ethically isn't just about compliance checklists. It's about actively protecting and enhancing your brand's value and your social license to operate. This is especially true in sectors like finance, healthcare, insurance, anywhere. Trust is foundational.
And the governance frameworks we discussed, transparency, risk management, those are the practical tools for actually enforcing these ethics.
Yes, they are the mechanisms. They provide the structure for audits, for accountability, for correction. Without that clear commitment from leadership, backed by robust governance, AI systems deployed at scale will almost inevitably perpetuate and likely even amplify historical societal inequities reflected in the data they're trained on. Ethics requires structure.
Okay, finally, let's zoom out even further. Our sources connect all of this leadership, ethics, governance to the national context. There's an argument that effective, responsible AI adoption isn't just good for the company, it's essential for the organizations and even the nation's overall competitiveness in the global economy. How does AI mastery translate to national relevance?
This is about recognizing that AI isn't just another internal efficiency tool anymore. It's rapidly becoming a foundational technology, almost like electricity or the internet was in previous eras. It's going to underpin future economic productivity and power.
So companies that get it right gain an edge.
Organizations that truly master responsible, governed AI deployment, the ones like Nadia's, that can build, deploy, and scale AI solutions safely, ethically, and predictably, they gain a significant competitive advantage.
In what ways?
In productivity gains, in speed of innovation, in better risk management, in attracting top talent. An advantage that their less disciplined, perhaps more hype-driven international competitors simply won't be able to match sustainably.
It makes me think about nations that are currently investing heavily in creating national AI strategies and regulatory frameworks.
Right, and often the narrative is that regulation slows things down.
But maybe that's not the whole picture.
I think it's more nuanced. What many are trying to do is not just apply brakes, but actually create a secure, predictable, trustworthy environment where AI solutions can be deployed with confidence, where they can actually reach their full potential because the guardrails are clear.
Because the alternative, a chaotic, unregulated space, might actually hinder adoption in the long run.
Exactly. If companies are constantly terrified of lawsuits, or if their AI models keep failing unpredictably due to poor governance or drift, that becomes a drag on national productivity. The inability to deploy AI responsibly becomes a competitive disadvantage. Conversely, an organization, and by extension a national economy, that demonstrates it can rapidly deploy high-value yet rigorously governed AI systems like Nadia's HR system moves faster, innovates more effectively, hires better talent, and manages risk more efficiently than its global peers.
So it elevates the whole conversation.
It absolutely elevates the conversation about AI governance. It moves it from being just an internal IT or compliance discussion or a burden to be minimized to being a core element of strategic global competitiveness. It reframes the decision to invest time and resources in robust governance. It's not just a cost center. It's a source of distinct, measurable, and sustainable competitive advantage on the world stage. #tag outro.
Wow. Okay, this has definitely been a true deep dive. We've journeyed all the way from the initial dangers of the AI hype trap
Through the critical need for structured governance.
right up to the implications for leadership, ethics, and even national competitiveness. A really comprehensive look.
Let's try to synthesize it down. Based on the insights, particularly from Zahir Ahmad Mir's work, what are the 3 absolute key takeaways that you, the listener, should really hold on to as you navigate this?
Okay, takeaway number 1.
First, always remember, AI is fundamentally a business tool. It is not just a PR slogan or a magic wand. Meaning it must be applied to solve a specific definable business problem, and it must deliver measurable ROI, and that ROI needs to be measured in real operational terms like efficiency, cost savings, risk reduction, not just how fast you manage to install the software.
Okay, AI is a tool. Measure its real impact. Got it. Takeaway number 2.
Second, governance is not optional. It is the absolute prerequisite that ensures AI's long-term viability and sustainability within your organization.
Why prerequisite?
Because without that framework, the pillars of transparency, strict data privacy compliance, and active risk management, especially for things like model drift, any AI initiative, no matter how promising initially, will inevitably falter, fail, or worse, become a source of massive unforeseen liability down the road. Governance is the safety net and the foundation.
Makes sense. Governance enables longevity. And the third key takeaway.
Third, true leadership in this AI era demands a duality of focus. Leaders must simultaneously drive the bold organizational vision for AI adoption and rigorously enforce responsibility and ethics in its implementation.
Vision and responsibility together.
You need both. Vision without responsibility is just reckless speed heading towards a cliff. Responsibility without vision leads to stagnation and being left behind. In today's dynamic global economy, both are potentially fatal mistakes. You need the accelerator and the brakes, used wisely.
Vision and responsibility. Tool, not magic. Governance is essential. Excellent synthesis.
And connecting this all back directly to you, the learner, the leader listening right now. If you truly want to move beyond just talking about AI, beyond the hype towards achieving hands-on mastery.
Gets to the practical focus.
It means consciously shifting your attention, your resources, and your metrics of success towards those governance KPIs we talked about.
Right.
Those verifiable measures of compliance, of fairness, of non-bias, of model resilience and stability. Focus on those internal indicators of responsible control rather than getting constantly distracted by the market noise, the vendor hype, and what competitors claim they're doing.
Because that's how you build real, enduring, defensible value with AI.
That is precisely how. Through disciplined, governed execution.
Okay. That brings us towards the end, and as always, we like to leave our listeners with a final provocative thought to mull over, something that builds on what we've discussed.
Right. So we've firmly established today that responsible leadership and robust governance are really the keys to unlocking sustainable competitive advantage from AI for any organization.
That's the core argument.
If we accept that premise, and if we accept that the core principles of that governance are things like transparency, compliance with regulations, and ensuring fairness and non-discrimination,
Yes.
then the provocative question becomes, how will these essential principles, this framework for mastery, need to evolve or be adapted as AI begins to scale significantly within highly specialized, data-intensive, and often heavily regulated professions?
You're thinking beyond general business applications like HR or logistics?
Exactly. Think about fields where the decisions have incredibly high stakes, where the data is uniquely complex and sensitive, and where the ethical margin for error is virtually zero. Fields like law, for example. Imagine AI drafting complex legal arguments or predicting case outcomes, or healthcare AI diagnosing patients, recommending treatments, analyzing genomic data, or even education AI personalizing curricula in real time, assessing student understanding in new ways.
All areas that rely heavily on specialized knowledge, strict regulations, and profound ethical considerations.
Precisely. The stakes for ensuring compliance, guaranteeing fairness, maintaining transparency, and managing risk in those domains become exponentially higher than even in Nadia's HR example.
So the question is,
how will the governance frameworks in law, medicine, and education need to differ? How must they be strengthened or adapted, building on those same core pillars of transparency, compliance, and fairness to manage the even greater potential for societal impact, both positive and negative, inherent in those highly specialized, deeply trusted sectors? That, I believe, is the next major frontier, the immediate future battleground for AI governance and mastery.